Paperback Writer is a genre-defining song, with its garage punk riff, its thumping drums, its whimsical harmonies, and for that time, its strange lyrics. Critics have called it the first true hard rock song, but it's not without its imitators, most notably the Monkees' Last Train to Clarksville. The writers of that song even admitted to listening to Paperback Writer while writing it. Paperback Writer was written by John Lennon and Paul McCartney, recorded on the 13th and 14th of April 1966. The producer was George Martin, the engineer was Geoff Emerick. The personnel were Paul McCartney, vocals, lead guitar, bass guitar; John Lennon, backing vocals, tambourine; George Harrison, backing vocals, rhythm guitar; Ringo Starr, drums. John said, "Paperback Writer is the son of Day Tripper, but it's Paul's song. Son of Day Tripper meaning a rock and roll song with a guitar lick on a fuzzy, loud guitar." The release of Paperback Writer came only 27 weeks after its predecessor Day Tripper, the Beatles entering a phase where they were less motivated by commercial demands and more focused on musical development. McCartney wrote Paperback Writer after reading a Daily Mail report about an aspiring author on his way to John's house in Weybridge. Paul said, "You knew the minute you got there, cup of tea, and you'd sit and write, so it was always good if you had a theme. I had a thought for a song, and somehow it was to do with the Daily Mail, so there might have been an article in the Mail that morning about people writing paperbacks. Penguin paperbacks was what I thought of." I told John I had this idea of trying to write off to a publisher to become a paperback writer, and I said I think it should be written like a letter. I took out a piece of paper and I said it should be something like "Dear Sir" or "Madam," as may be the case, and I proceeded to write it just like a letter in front of him, occasionally rhyming it. And John, as I recall, just sat there and said, "Oh, that's it, yeah." I remember him being amused and just smiling, saying, "That's it, that'll do, quite a nice moment. I've done right, I've done well." And then we went upstairs and put the melody to it. John and I sat down and finished it all up, but it was tilted towards me. The original idea was mine. I had no music, but it's just a little bluesy song, not a lot of melody. Then I had the idea to do the harmonies, and we arranged that in the studio. The backing vocals in the verse found the Beatles singing Frere Jacques, and the powerful four-part harmonies of the chorus was swathed in tape echo. It showed the band becoming more confident by the minute, musically, lyrically, and willing to exploit their position as figureheads of popular culture. Paperback Writer is most notable for its heavy bass line, played by Paul McCartney on a Rickenbacker in place of his usual Hofner. Its recording caused some headaches for the EMI technicians, who were subject to strict rules about how microphones and amplifiers should be used. Sound engineer Geoff Emerick recalls, Paperback Writer was the first time that bass sound had been heard in all its excitement. For a start, Paul played a different bass, a Rickenbacker. Then we boosted it further by using a loudspeaker as a microphone. We positioned it directly in front of the bass speaker, and the moving diaphragm of the second speaker made the electrical current. The Beatles began recording Paperback Writer in the evening of the 13th of April 1966. That day, they also completed George Harrison's Love to You. It took them 2 takes to record the rhythm track. Afterwards, they added a series of overdubs. These continued on the following day, on which the distinctive backing vocals and bass were recorded. Producer George Martin said, "Paperback Writer had a heavier sound than most earlier work, and very good vocal work too. I think that's just the way it worked out. The rhythm was the most important part of their makeup by that time." McCartney played the lead guitar on an Epiphone Casino, and Harrison used a Gibson SG standard guitar. They also used these instruments for Rain and much of Revolver. Paperback Writer was a standalone single released just a couple of months before Revolver. One notable aspect was they made film clips for both Paperback Writer and Rain. George would later say, "The mania made it pretty difficult to get around, and out of convenience we decided we were not going into the TV studios to promote our records because it was too much of a hassle. We thought we'd go and make our own little films and put them on TV. So we started getting a film crew and shooting. There are a number of those films. I think the first proper ones we did were Paperback Writer and Rain in Chiswick House. They were the forerunners of music videos." So there you have it, the making of Paperback Writer. You've been listening to Tomorrow Never Knows, a Beatles podcast. Please subscribe and like so that you never miss on Beatles stories or news.